I gave the fridge a test run today on just the batteries. As you know, I have 400 amp hours of lithium in here. There's my DC to DC charge controller there, and here is my MPPT charge controller here. Alright, Victron products and Life Blue batteries. So I have my Absorption Fridge, which is a 312 watt electric heating element for the cooling unit. And I've been running it all day long. Inverter shows that it has been producing about 0.24 kilowatts through the course of the day, and it's currently showing 12.6 volts. The inverter tends to read low, so it's probably like 12.8. It's generally about 2.2 volts under. So it's been running all day long, putting out 312 amps and or watts, and the fridge was on pretty much from about noon until now, and it's 11 o'clock at night. So about 6 hours of no sunshine, and the batteries are down to 77%, I believe, but you can see here the fridge, where's my temperature control or thermometer, says it's at 30 degrees. So that's good. I don't know where my thermostat for in the freezer went, but the freezer is nice and cold too. It looks like it might need some help. Okay, so anyway, so this here is how I power the truck camper off of the inverter. That is the shore power cord, and I just run the shore power cord in through here. So I can just shove the cord in under the sink and come out the sink drawer, and we are playing with power. Alright, so that is just a quick update. The camper can easily run the fridge for several hours on just the batteries. It can run it all day long or when I'm driving with no problem. So it's a good thing to know. If I want to conserve on propane, I can always plug into the inverter and power it off of the solar panels. The solar panels put out 675 watts. So basically I have double the solar power that the fridge needs. And then the inverter itself is a 600 watt inverter, and that will easily power the fridge without any issue. The fan for the inverter is on low. You can barely hear it running, and it's just a little bit warm to the touch. Nowhere near hot, just you can feel that it's warm. Okay, all right, so that's kind of an update on running a absorption fridge on your battery system. If you've got good batteries, an absorption fridge, it's competitive to a compressor type fridge. And if you listen closely, there's no compressor noise. And that is something that I really like in small tight quarters, is no noise. An absorption fridge heating element will use about 312 watts. A compressor fridge for the same size will use about 104 watts of power. So it's about 1/3 of the power to run the compressor fridge, but a absorption fridge will run for a couple of months off of propane, and it is silent. This is the BMS readout battery management system from the Life Blue 200 amp hour batteries. This is the first battery, 76% power remaining. It's 13.2 volts. And let's take a look at the next screen. It's showing that it is putting out 13 amps of current. That's how much power it's being drawn, and it's at 13.2 volts, 80.6 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the second battery BMS display, 77% of state of charge, 13.2 volts. And let's see the next screen coming up here in just a minute. You can see it has 202.7 amp hours of total capacity. Alright, so this is the second screen showing the 13.2 amps of output, and it is at 13.2 volts. It's at 80.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's had 17 cycles run on it. This is the power display from the solar MPPT controller, and the small bar graphs to the right are days where I did not use the truck camper, so it was just more or less idle. And today I plugged in the solar to the fridge, the shore power. So I plug into the shore power and it powers up everything through the outlets in the truck camper. Anyway, you see that I put out 426 watts, 1.25 kilowatt hours, okay, so I have unplugged the cord now, and you can see that we are at 13.1 volts. And it doesn't register any kilowatt usage. And this is the BMS display after I disconnected the fridge and the shore power from the inverter. Still shows a state of charge of 76%, 13.2 volts in the battery. And let's take a look at the second screen now. And you can see that there is 0.6 amps being used. I have a ceiling fan running right now and one of the LED overhead lights, 13.2 volts, 80.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and 18 cycles used. It'll go over 1,000 cycles, so I got a lot of life left. And this is the readout from the solar charge controller, and it's showing 13.13 volts, and there is no power or anything going on in that. So it works out really good. The 600 watt inverter will power everything in the truck except for the air conditioner, and it will not power my 1,000 watt baseboard electric heater either, but it will power the fridge. The fridge uses 312 watts of power, and the fridge runs intermittently. It's not running all the time. It brings the fridge down to the set temperature, and then it will stop, and then when it warms back up again, the thermostat will kick the fridge back on. So it doesn't run all the time. The inverter and the batteries could probably run the fridge for all day long. I used about 25% of the power in 6 hours, so I would probably run it down to about 40%, maybe 35% power if I left it overnight, and then the sun would start hitting the solar panels. The solar panels put out 675 watts of power, and it would charge the batteries back up again by the end of the day. So if you've got good solar and good batteries, you can easily run an absorption fridge using the 120 volt electric mode, and it's I would prefer that over a compressor refrigerator because I just don't like the noise. That's why I have solar and I don't have a generator. It's silent and it works very well. Okay, so here we are. It has been since 6:30 this morning until now, which is about 3:15, 3:20. So the solar panels have been charging with the fridge running. all day long, 9 hours. And the batteries, we started out with a 72% charge, and the batteries are now at 99%. The solar panels generated 3.2 kilowatts of electricity today, and that took 9 hours to charge the two 200 amp hour, total 400 amp hour lithium batteries back up. So here's the MPPT charge controller, and it's warm. It's cooling down now. The system is in the absorption charge mode now, and so you see it is at 14.2 volts. The fridge is in a off portion of the cycle right now, so I expect that the fridge will kick back on before long, and the voltage will drop back down to 13.1 or 2. And let's see what we got here. So here we go. The fridge, you see the temperature is still under 30, about 28 degrees in there, so that's a good thing. And everything up in here is nice and solid, frozen hard. So it works out pretty good. Okay, so that's what we have here is so the fridge has kicked back on now. So you see that the voltage dropped from 14, we're putting out 0.23 kilowatt hours of wattage right now, and then 13.8 volts, so it dropped down a few volts. Then this here is the shore power cord that comes in through here and goes out through there. Normally you would take it out through the side door and plug it in, but we are using it to run the 312 watt heating element on the Dometic absorption refrigerator. And be it known that the fridge has a new cooling unit, an Amish built cooling unit that is supposed to be an improved, more efficient design. And it does have, I installed the 312 watt heating element, and it does a very good job of keeping things cool. So the nice thing is that this fridge operates silently. There's no compressor humming away in there, and it's totally feasible to run this refrigerator 24 hours a day off of my solar and lithium. I figure that it would probably run the batteries down to about 40%, and then on a good sunny day you could charge it right back up. We've still got about 2.5 hours of usable sunshine left, and I've had the fantastic fan on and blowing all day. Windows, it is there's the temperature there, close to 80 degrees. So it's not a cool day, which means that the fridge has been working harder than it normally would. If it was 70, it probably wouldn't have cycled on so much and would have charged earlier in the day. Okay, so there you go. That is having an absorption fridge running off of solar is completely feasible. You do not really have to get a compressor fridge if you don't want one. Obviously, this will do the trick. And the other nice thing is that it has propane power as a backup, and it will run for a few months off of a couple of bottles of propane. And that is a pretty good alternative to have a two fuel source driving the fridge. And you could have a situation where you would have to run your loud and obnoxious generator to run your loud and obnoxious compressor refrigerator, combining to make loud and obnoxious noise to those of us who are trying to go camping and have a nice peaceful time. And so there you go. There is the MPPT charge controller, the 30 amp 12 volt DC to DC charger from the truck alternator back here to the batteries, and in there are the two 200 amp hour each Life Blue lithium iron batteries. So I'm very, very happy with this system. And then also this is the 600 watt pure sine wave Xantrex inverter, and 600 watts seems to be plenty big enough to do everything that we ever need to do in the truck camper. It'll run the laptops, it'll run coffee grinder, most other things. It'll charge tools, charge other batteries, phones, does almost everything except for running the air conditioner or my 1000 watt electric baseboard. And if it's so hot then that I need AC, I'll go plug in somewhere and park and stay in the camper. And if it's so cold, I'll go park somewhere, plug in to shore power, and use the heater. Or I'll just use the propane furnace, because with 400 amp hours of battery, I can run this furnace for a couple of days before I have to worry about not having enough charge to run the fan and keep it going. My old two AGM batteries, a total of 210 amp hours, usable 105 amp hours, could only run it for about 5 hours. And at the end of early in the morning, you had to stop using the furnace or get out and turn on the truck because the batteries were getting too low. And the other nice thing with lithium is that the voltage doesn't drop. The battery management system keeps the voltage at about 13.2 volts all the time. So you never get any dimming lights, slowing motors, none of that. It's just good, solid power all the time. Okay, so I hope this answers questions for anybody who is wondering if they would be better off getting a compressor fridge or just using a absorption type fridge. And me personally, I'm going to stick with the absorption fridge because I can run it, and it'll also run on propane, so it will use two fuels. A compressor fridge, you are limited to just electricity. So you need to make sure that you have a solar system or charging system, electrical system that can keep it running in hot weather. Okay? I will include here at the end some frame grabs, screenshots of the readouts on the charge controller and the battery BMS that will show you the states of charge and how it progresses through the day. Alright, so it should be an interesting thing for you to check out and see. This is, as far as I know, the only place you're going to get this information. I'm going to show the readouts from the MPPT controller and battery displays. 6:46 in the morning, 99 watts of power coming in from the solar panels. And then this is the power. You see, yesterday we had 1.29 kilowatts of power. Today so far we have had 50 watts. And at 6:47 the state of charge on the battery is 74% of charge, so we have a 26% discharge. The voltage is 13.3. You can see that we have a incoming current of 2.7 amps charging the battery right now. And this is the other battery, 73% state of charge and 13.3 volts. The batteries keep within about a volt of each other, And then this is the other battery, is showing 3.3 amps of charge current coming in, 3.3 volts of charge, and the temperature is 75 degrees. All right, so this is about an hour later, 7:27. State of charge is at 75%, 13.4 volts. And we do have the fridge plugged in now. This is the, it's getting 5.7 amps of charge, still 75 degrees. And this is 7 o'clock, and it's getting 174 watts of charge. Voltage is 18.96 off the panels, 13.4 to the batteries, and you can see that our charge for the day is increasing. We've got 150 watt hours, and the peak power so far is 175 watts input. And this here is at 9:14. The sun is getting higher. We are now getting 334 watts of charge from the solar panels, 18.17 volts power coming in from the panels, and so far it has produced 580 watt hours of electricity. Now 9:15, and we're looking at the battery again. We're at 82% state of charge, 13.4 volts. So the batteries are charging and the fridge is running. This is the charge current is 11.9 amps and 13.4 volts, still 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is the other battery, 82% state of charge, 13.4 volts. So it is charging up nicely here, 9:17. And 9:17 still. The charge, there is 0 charge right now. So that means the fridge must be on, and at 300 watts of input from the solar, it's at parity with what the fridge is using. 88% state of charge at 11:44, 13.4 volts. So the batteries are charging up nicely. Right now we have 15.7 amps coming in. It's still 75 degrees battery temperature. And 11:47, now we're getting 460 watts off the solar panels, 16.81 volts solar, 13.66 battery, 27 amps solar. And you can see right now the battery so far today, 11:47 from 6:30 in the morning, has produced 1 kilowatt hour of power. And this is a graph of the power being used and generated by the solar panels. Let's see, that is the solar power in watts, and it's at 461. Okay, so this is 11:40, and you can see that it is still in the bulk mode for 6 hours 20 minutes. It shows the absorption and float modes, but it has not entered that yet. And this is just the standard, the non-expanded view of the graph. And you can see it's at 1.8 kilowatt hours. Okay, so 12:20, 468 watts coming in, and it's a good blue sunny day. 28 amps of current at 16 volts coming in from the panels, 33.9 amps at 13.51 volts on the battery. So 12:22, this is the battery readout at 92% state of charge, 13.4 volts charge. And then we are showing 3.7 amps of charge current, 13.4 volts, and the batteries are now at 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is a graph showing the battery voltage against the battery current. And this is the solar voltage against solar current. So these displays have a pretty good amount of information that you can look at and use to get an idea of what's going on. This is solar power, and we're right about 468 watts. Between 465 and 468, it seems. State of charge 97% at 1:54 in the afternoon. 13.4 volts on the battery. So we are getting closer to full charge. We're still getting 3.3 amps of charge current. That's with the fridge running. And 13.4 volts, 77 degrees battery temperature. The other battery is at 97%, 13.4 volts. And it's 1:56 in the afternoon. And still 1:56 in the afternoon. We're getting 3.7 amps of charge current and 13.4 volts, 77 degrees on the batteries, and that is with the fridge running. So now we're 1:57, 456 watts, 27 amps at 16.75 volts off the solar panels, 33.2 amps at 13.54 volts at the batteries. And you can see here we are now at 2.58 kilowatt hours produced so far today. It's 1:57, so we have about 7 hours of charge time running there. It's 254 and 436 watts of solar power, 16.9 volts, 25 amps on the panels, 1357 volts on the batteries. And you can see here we are up to 2.95 kilowatt hours, peak of 472 watts of solar charge. So this here is 255, and we have 98% state of charge, 13.4 volts on the battery. So we are very close to getting fully charged now. 256, we've got 2.6 amps going in and 13.4 volts. The battery temperature is 78.8 degrees. And the fridge turned off, so the current kicked up to 14.5 amps and 13.6 volts. When the fridge shuts off, the charge current kicks up, and when it turns on, then it drops down. 99% state of charge at 3 o'clock, 13.6 volts. So I think we are going to be reaching the absorption mode here. We'll see that when we get to the MPPT screen. And I believe this is the other battery is also at 99% state of charge, 13.6 volts. And you can see 15.1 amps charge at 13.6 volts, 78 degrees. So if we're getting a large charge current into the battery, it means the fridge is in the off cycle. When it's on the duty cycle, then the current charging the battery drops because it's all going to the fridge heating unit. Okay, 311, 216 watts, 10 amps coming in, 14.3 amps going to the batteries. And it's you can see we are in the absorption mode now, 14.41 volts, 13.6 amps. 20.95 volts on the panels at 19 amps, and we have 1 minute in the absorption. You see the middle band on the chart there. So we are now, the fridge is running again, so a 3.1 amp charge, 14.3 volts, 78.8 degrees. And this is the second battery at 99% state of charge, 14.3 volts. So it's 313 on this screenshot, 320 on this screenshot. You can see we are now at 3.17 kilowatt hours, and we've been in absorption mode for 17 minutes, and the peak power was 472 watts. The peak battery voltage was 14.48. So now we're showing 3.47 kilowatts of power has been generated today. It's 4:21 in the afternoon. So the solar system has created a lot of power, 3.5 kilowatts of power, running the fridge and charging the batteries. And here we are, 421, 356 watts, 17.24 volts on the panels, 20.7 amps coming in, 13.79 volts, and 25.3 amps at the battery. So here we have 13.50 kilowatt hours. So again, that is a pretty good amount of power being generated in one day. 6:51, and we're still getting 93 watts of charge, 20 volts on the panel, 4.6 amps coming in, 13.7 and 6 amps to the batteries. That's the output of the controller to the batteries. And you see here 3.82 kilowatts. And it has been in the float mode for 2 hours, and that is with the fridge still plugged in. And at 6:50, the first battery is at 99% state of charge, 13.7 volts. And you can see that it is getting 1.3 amps of charge, 13.7 volts on the batteries, 78.8 degrees. So there you have it, the complete record of the day of charging the batteries while running an absorption refrigerator that needs 312 watts of power. There are 675 watts of solar panels on the roof, and today the maximum output of the panels was 472 watts. So I have seen the panels put out as much as 745 watts, which is odd because it's more than what their rating is, but it shows that you can run an absorption fridge with good solar and batteries, and then it also gives you the option of using propane if it's a cloudy day or at night or for any other reason. And with a compressor style refrigerator, the compressor type uses 1/3 the amount of energy, but it will only run on electric. So you will have to have some sort of guaranteed electric power to run that compressor fridge. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this little explanation of the difference between the absorption refrigerator and a compressor refrigerator. I hope the information helps you make your decision for what works best for you. Leave any comments, ask any questions. Don't forget to give a like, and if you like what you see, subscribe to follow along and be notified of future videos. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.